Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Career Speakers Series. My name is Mrs. Meffe, and I am so excited to be here today to interview Chris Wilson, who is the Director of Programming and Brand Partnerships with the Drake Hotel Properties. Chris, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. We're really excited for this interview.
Excited as well. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty stoked.
Good. Thank you. So before we begin, we would like to start with the YCDSB land acknowledgement. We are gathered on the ancestral lands and waters of all Indigenous peoples who have left their footprints on Mother Earth before us. We respectfully acknowledge those who walked on it, those who walk on it now, and future generations who are yet to walk upon it. We pray to the Creator for strength and wisdom that all may continue to serve as stewards of the earth. So again, I would like to introduce to everybody, this is Mr. Christopher Wilson. He is the Program Director and Brand Partnership with the Drake Hotel. And so he's here today to answer a series of questions for us. We've been really fortunate that students have been able to participate in advance to drop all these questions to you. And it basically these are the things that they're most curious about knowing. So let's get started, Chris. Can you describe some of your responsibilities as the Director of Programming for the Drake Hotel Properties?
Yeah, so my job is very unique in itself in what it is that I do. You would typically most likely find it in an institution like the Royal Ontario Museum or the Museum of Contemporary Art. In the position that I hold, it's within a hospitality brand that has a hotel, restaurant, bar, and a live music venue. So a lot of what I do is to provide opportunities for people who want to attend our spaces to engage. That looks like, in terms of music, I book about 250 shows a year of acts that you might listen to, like Billie Eilish, for example, or Diplo. So it ranges from either live performance or even DJs. And that consists of myself being able to produce those shows as well. So within what I do is I'm also a producer with the responsibilities of having to put on that live show. It's not just like the ticketing side of things, but that is definitely part of it. But there's also a marketing component and the also actual execution of the event or the show. And that would be the band sound checking, to the band going on stage, and then that band packing up and leaving as well, and doing that cycle throughout a calendar year, which we haven't been able to do this year due to COVID, but it's been exciting in itself in terms of the projects that I've worked on, going to a virtual world platform. So I've done a lot of short films where I've recorded a lot of acts within the music venue that are looking to promote themselves and have performances that yourselves could watch at any time, but also an opportunity for you to be introduced to a lot of new talent that's within the city. So that's kind of like the gist of it.
And you know what, Chris, that would probably be, if I would have just read your job description, I would have said none of those things, right? That it has to do with music, that it has to do with booking the bands from start to finish. So in a lot of ways, you're doing an event management project, right? From start to finish, you're finding ways to market it, you're finding ways to promote, to generate to business, right? And it's not just for you and the Drake properties, but it's also for the artists that you guys are representing. I think that's really, really cool. Thanks so much for sharing that.
No problem.
When did you start realizing that you wanted to, when did you start realizing what you wanted to do in life? And this question is from Sarah in grade 7 at OLA.
For me, I think it was in grade 10, which is when I bought my first pair of turntables and a mixer and I wanted to get into DJing. That was like one side of my, I guess, my career growth or my understanding of wanting to be, at least in a somewhat sort of facet, working within an entertainment capacity. But also wanting to learn. I was really into science, and it was something that definitely excited me. So it was at that crossroads of going down a creative part of my life, but also trying to figure out what the other side could look like in terms of a science background and working within that field. So it was in grade 10 really where I started to really hammer down what I wanted to do with my life.
And I like that they were two very opposite ideas, right? To be interested in music and interested in becoming a DJ essentially, and then having that science part, right? But isn't it kind of interesting how you can sort of fuse the two together, right? There is a little bit of science behind making good music too. That's awesome. Chris, I love it. Okay. So can you speak to us about your pathway to your current career and any successes or challenges that you experienced along the way? So maybe what caused that shift from science into music?
Yeah, it definitely was an interesting one. I'm lucky enough to have had many experiences. I played soccer in university. Um, Obviously, was in a science program, biochemistry at Waterloo, and all throughout that time had always DJ'd and was involved in music and cultural programming. The thing, I guess, in terms of how I like led myself to it is I was lucky enough or fortunate enough to in my program at Waterloo to have a co-op program. So I got to actually work within the field of biochemistry. So I worked for pharmaceutical companies like Sanofi Pasteur or Apotex, and I got to really experience what life would be like after graduation while I was still in school and gaining that experience. But on the other side, I was able also to work within the student life office at my university, which is very much similar to the role that I do now, in sense of I was programming for student life. So that whether it would be things for Black History Month or panel discussions that students could attend, conferences. If you go when you're ready to go to university or college, and you have the opportunity to visit the campuses, there's conversations that take place with students, and that would be stuff that I would organize working for the student life office. So I got to really dabble within that realm. And after I finished university, I was still kind of unsure of what it was that I wanted to do, but kind of still dabbled in just taking a job and focusing a little bit more on the creative aspect and what DJing and cultural programming looked like. I've taken that and worked professionally as a professional DJ, traveling across Canada, the States, and the world, which was awesome. And it really made me realize when I was doing co-op that working in a science and working in a lab didn't really suit my personality traits and how I was as an individual. And I really wanted to be able to use all of myself and express myself. So it was
Yeah.
very so much that I think it really helped to actually do that co-op program, and it really shifted gears for me.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that that co-op really does give you an opportunity to try something out before you actually commit to it wholeheartedly. And like you said, you realize that you might have been good at it, but was it your passion? Maybe not, right? And I think that that's one of the objectives that we want for our students is we want them to not just find a job, right? We want you to find something that you're passionate about, because when passion is rooted in everything that you do, you're naturally going to be more successful at it and happy. So yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm glad you took this route. It sounds awesome. Okay, so next question says, how have you used your role to promote diversity, representation, and inclusion in Toronto and your local community? And this came from Andrew in grade 8 at Christ the King.
Awesome. Um, I have created a personal mandate to the work that it is that I do, and I approach everything that I program with culture, cause, and community at the forefront. So I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations and offering up the spaces within our establishments to individuals who are marginalized communities that don't necessarily have an opportunity for their voices to be heard. It's a really important thing for me, to be able to, to see people that look like myself, be able to express themselves freely without there being any restrictions towards it. And being able to have access to space is very difficult within the city of Toronto. So being someone who works for an establishment that has a lot of space, I definitely do my part in tapping into those communities and allowing for those opportunities. So I've done stuff with the Remix Project and with Unity, which I'm currently working on too as well right now. And then organizations like the NIA Center or Band Gallery to get exhibitions with emerging artists that come from marginalized communities to be able to showcase their work within our properties. So it's a really massive part of it. It's not just about making the donations for me, but about being able to create the infrastructure that allows for development of communities so that you have the tools to turn a profit and to be successful as a creative individual in the arts.
Yeah, and to provide people that opportunity, right? Because oftentimes that's all it is everybody just needs that one little chance, right? Someone to take a risk on them or to be a little bit generous. And all of a sudden, it opens up a whole bunch of other pathways. I mean, yeah, thanks, Chris. That's so great. So as a Joan of Arc alumni, how did your experience in this Catholic high school prepare you for your career?
It was awesome, to be honest. I got to dabble and meet with so many different individuals. I think the fact that the school was diverse in terms of the communities, I learned a lot. And I use that learning every day with the individuals that I interact with based off of, where St. Joan of Arc was and or is and how that my interactions with my classmates at the time, I learned a ton. But at the same time, I was lucky enough to be president or co-president of a school, something that hadn't really ever been done before at that time. And it really taught me a lot of just like of leadership skills, and how to listen. I think that was probably the
Nice.
most important thing that I really learned in at St. Joan of Arc was just um, actively listening, and taking the time to really to give people time and space for them to say what it is that's on their mind. I think that was a really big part of it, and it definitely helped. Obviously, being in the student council and learning
Mhm.
skills, but also being able to do things for the students. I think that was a massive part of it. Um, the sheer joy that I got to experience in high school when we did stuff and how much fun that was. I've basically taken that throughout and try to do that at a grander scale, when I book shows, when I have exhibitions for artists that are showing at gallery spaces. So it's the same joy all the way through.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. That those high school experiences, you just multiplied them, right? You made them bigger. You found bigger venues and bigger spaces to be able to provide that. So I think that that's just incredible, and it goes to show how the stuff that you're doing in high school sometimes may seem insignificant or might seem small. Really, those things are the building blocks to creating a whole bunch of opportunities afterwards, right?
Most definitely.
Reflecting back on your education and career thus far, what advice would you give to students interested in entertainment and hospitality in the future?
This is the thing that I realized that was a really big part now that I look at it is that you don't really know how things translate themselves. It's it's easy to like put things into buckets in terms of marketing or finance or science, but a lot of the things that you would learn in those areas are very transferable into other things, and that's the biggest thing that I realize now is that my lived experiences, the things that I had gone through, the different classes that I took, the history lessons, every little thing is something that I have pulled or drawn from, and I realize the importance of that now. And I would say that the thing that has been, if you want to get into the entertainment and the hospitality industry, is to really experience as much as you can and take it in. As small as something might be, it definitely is beneficial in the long run. And I look at what I took in science, and I actually apply a lot of what I learned in my university career to what it is that I do now. It might not be the creative aspect, but all of the ways that I'm able to organize myself,
Mhm.
um, spreadsheets, all of these things that were functional things that I learned, and also taking biochemistry and looking at this like smaller, minute things that build up to this really big thing, and realizing that all is transferable, all things that can be used. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you've taken this one thing that you can't move it on and do it in another aspect. It all has purpose, and that's kind of the biggest thing that I've learned. So if you want to get into the entertainment industry, there's multiple different things that you can do. You don't just have to be the person that books the shows. You can also be the person that is the production assistant. You could be the front of house engineer. You could be the person that mixes and masters the records. You could be the gallerist. Like if you have your Instagram account that you've curated multiple different times and you've selected the photos that you want to post, well, you can basically are doing what I do, is curation.
Yes.
And all of those things are skill sets that you're learning right now. So you can just being able to actually take it all into account, and don't think that you're wasting your time with something. It'll all be able to be used at some given point, and you'll be able to draw from it. It definitely is helpful.
That's wonderful advice, right? That you have to take those skills, take those transferable skills, and actually transfer them into the role that you're doing, right? And every learning opportunity is just that, right? An opportunity to find a new skill and to improve upon it. Chris, thank you so much. I know that you are busy. As much as we want to believe that the entertainment industry has been on a pause, I know that that's not the case for you. So I do really appreciate you sharing your story with us and sharing all of this wonderful advice. I hope that the students will take this to heart and be able to kind of see that their pathway really can be anything that they want it to be if they're open and willing to experience and to learn skills from every opportunity. I wish you nothing but success. Good luck as we now reopen, and I'm sure that your busyness will increase. And again, just thank you so much for your time. And I hope that we'll be able to talk again soon.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you so much. It was awesome being able to chat.
All right. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care.